What we're witnessing isn't just another military operation. It's the moment everything changes. The silence of the past 6 months was just the calm before the devastating storm. And now that storm has arrived. In the last 24 hours, Russian forces have achieved what military experts called impossible. The defensive lines that were supposed to be impenetrable are now in flames. But that's not even the most disturbing part. Let me show you something that no mainstream media will tell you. While everyone was focused on the ground assault, a precision strike eliminated an entire command center. Top officers, strategic plans, communication networks, all gone in an instant. This wasn't just a lucky hit. This was a calculated move that's been in preparation for months. The panic in the enemy's ranks is unprecedented. Their own military channels are breaking protocol, admitting what they've been hiding for months. Critical situation, they say. Very difficult position. But why are they suddenly so honest? Because they can no longer hide the scale of what's happening. Here's what makes this different from everything we've seen before. The Russian advance isn't just breaking through. It's systematically dismantling every layer of defense that took months to build. In Kamenskoye, what we're seeing isn't just a breakthrough. It's a complete collapse of resistance. But here's the real question you should be asking. Why now? Why this particular moment? The answer lies in a pattern that goes back to decisions made years ago. A pattern that's only visible when you connect certain dots that nobody wants you to connect. Think this is just another frontline news? Think again. What's happening right now is reshaping the entire balance of power. And if you live anywhere near the border regions, you need to understand what comes next. Before I reveal the full scope of what's unfolding, write in the comments where you're watching from. Especially if you're in the border areas. What we're about to discuss affects you directly. The most shocking part? This is just the beginning. The real story goes much deeper. Let's zoom out and see what this truly means. The strategic depth we're witnessing isn't just about one front. It's about the collapse of an entire defensive doctrine. Russian forces have achieved what military analysts deemed impossible. A decisive breakthrough at Kamenskoye, pushing into urban zones with mechanical precision. But here's what mainstream media won't tell you. This isn't just about territory. We're watching the unraveling of a carefully constructed Western narrative. When commanders on the ground, the ones actually fighting, start breaking ranks to admit Russian advances, you know something unprecedented is happening. The evidence is mounting by the hour. Multiple independent sources confirm. Russian armor is rolling through areas that were supposedly impregnable. The former Soviet republic's defensive lines aren't just breaking, they're disintegrating. And here's the kicker. Even their most ardent supporters can't hide it anymore. The implications are staggering. We're not just seeing a military operation, we're witnessing a fundamental shift in global power dynamics. Think about it. Every meter of ground gained by Russian forces is another crack in the Western-backed security architecture. What's particularly telling is the silence from Western capitals. They know what this means. The carefully constructed narrative they've been feeding their populations is crumbling faster than the defensive lines they guaranteed would hold. But here's what should really keep you up at night. This is just the beginning. The mechanical phase of the operation is rolling out. And if initial reports are accurate, what happens next could reshape the entire European security landscape. Let me ask you this. Have you noticed changes in how your local media is covering these events? Are they still pushing the old narrative, or are cracks beginning to show? Drop your location in the comments, especially if you're seeing this shift firsthand. You won't believe what happens next, as a completely unexpected player enters the game. Recent developments reveal a critical shift in the military landscape. The forces of our Western neighbor are losing their grip under relentless pressure. Russian artillery unleashes devastating barrages while precision drone strikes systematically dismantle fortified positions. The Russian military machine has entered a phase of sustained pressure, denying the enemy any chance to regroup or resupply. This is no longer a waiting game. We're witnessing the collapse of defensive lines. The situation in the Kherson direction particularly illustrates this transformation. The military command of the former Soviet Republic, apparently convinced of their invulnerability, made a fatal error in judgment. They chose to hold a field meeting, which proved to be their undoing. Russian aerospace forces delivered a precision strike on the former Ministry of Internal Affairs building precisely when high-ranking officers and police representatives were gathered inside. Multiple sources have confirmed this successful operation. The timing couldn't have been more precise. The strike occurred exactly during their strategic meeting. The building sustained severe damage, and emergency vehicles were spotted rushing to the scene. The systematic weakening of the enemy's command structure continues to yield results. Their forces appear increasingly disorganized, struggling to maintain coherent defensive positions under the weight of Russian military superiority. This marks a significant turning point in the operation, demonstrating the effectiveness of Russian tactical planning and execution. These developments signal a broader pattern of deteriorating military capabilities across the disputed territory between Russia and the West. The enemy's previous confidence has given way to visible panic and disorder, as they grapple with mounting losses and declining morale. What do you think about these recent developments? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm particularly interested in your analysis of how this situation might evolve in the coming weeks. In a striking development, the governor of Kherson region, Vladimir Saldo, has revealed devastating losses suffered by forces of our western neighbor. Their attempt to conceal casualties under cover of darkness proved futile. A rescue vehicle, intended to evacuate survivors, was struck during a retreat attempt, resulting in total casualties. The opposition media's complete blackout of this incident serves as a clear indicator of the catastrophe's magnitude. Underground intelligence sources confirmed that among the eliminated were operational command-level officers, some of whom had arrived from Mykolaiv. This strike wasn't merely tactical. It delivered a systematic blow to their command structure, creating ripple effects across the entire front. The aftermath has been profound. Along both the Zaporizhzhia and Kherson directions, we're witnessing a marked decrease in defensive density from the former Soviet Republic's forces. This isn't a strategic regrouping. It's a full-scale withdrawal triggered by leadership losses, plummeting morale, and resource shortages. The situation mirrors a classic military principle. When command structure crumbles, the entire defensive system follows. We're seeing this play out in real time as Russian forces capitalize on these vulnerabilities. The absence of effective leadership has created a vacuum that's impossible to fill quickly, especially given the current circumstances. This development marks a potential turning point in the conflict. The systematic elimination of key command personnel has created a cascading effect of operational failures. What we're witnessing isn't just a temporary setback. It's a fundamental breakdown in their military organization. What do you think about the current events? Leave your answer in the comments. Your insights help us understand the situation better. The pattern is clear. Without proper command structure, even well-equipped units become disorganized. This is exactly what we're observing along these critical front lines. As Russian forces maintain pressure, the opposing side's ability to coordinate effective resistance continues to deteriorate. Russian forces are advancing with unprecedented momentum, encountering significantly weakened resistance levels, a clear sign that the enemy's defenses have been critically destabilized. Along the southern front lines, where Russian armor now dominates the landscape, we're witnessing a dramatic shift in the conflict's dynamics. The former Soviet Republic's military project, built entirely on Western financial support and counteroffensive fantasies, is now crumbling before our eyes, leaving behind only the ashes of shattered illusions. The situation in Stepnogorsk perfectly illustrates this collapse. What was recently considered a secure rear area has, within mere days, transformed into an urban battlefield. Russian infantry forces are methodically clearing the area, house by house, basement by basement, street by street, systematically neutralizing remaining pockets of resistance. The defensive efforts of the country at a crossroads increasingly resemble chaotic, desperate actions of troops who've lost their command structure. There's no coherent withdrawal strategy, no fresh reinforcements in sight. This deterioration in military effectiveness signals a profound shift in the conflict's trajectory. The systematic advance of Russian forces has exposed critical vulnerabilities in the neighbor across the Dnipro's defense network. Their much-touted Western support appears insufficient to maintain effective resistance, as demonstrated by the rapid collapse of defensive positions that were previously considered impregnable. The situation clearly shows how Russian military doctrine, combining artillery superiority with methodical infantry operations, proves devastatingly effective against Western-style defensive arrangements. The results speak for themselves: entire defensive lines crumbling, command structures in disarray, and a marked absence of coordinated resistance. What do you think about the current developments? Leave your point of view in the comments. I'm particularly interested in your analysis of how this situation might evolve in the coming weeks. Recent strikes in the southern region have dealt a devastating blow to the command structure of the former Soviet Republic's forces. The precision hit on their internal affairs headquarters proved more than just physical destruction. It severed critical command arteries, leaving troops scattered and directionless. Within hours, observers noted a marked decrease in return fire from their positions, indicating severe disruption of coordination capabilities. Russian armored units, including tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, have now established contact with initial defensive positions near Stepnogorsk. Sources from the disputed territory confirm their forces were caught off guard by the speed and intensity of the Russian advance. "The Russians didn't give us even an hour to regroup," admitted one surviving fighter in social media posts, revealing the effectiveness of the tactical pressure. The situation grows increasingly dire in the Plavny area, where multiple units from the neighboring state are reportedly attempting to abandon their positions. This development signals a potential collapse of organized resistance in the sector. The systematic elimination of command elements has created a leadership vacuum that's proving impossible to fill under constant combat pressure. The precision of Russian strikes against command nodes demonstrates a clear strategic advantage. By targeting key leadership positions, Russian forces have effectively paralyzed the enemy's ability to coordinate any meaningful defense or counterattack. The rapid degradation of command and control capabilities suggests we're witnessing a turning point in this phase of operations. What's particularly notable is how quickly the situation deteriorated after the command structure was compromised. Without effective leadership, individual units are showing signs of disintegration, unable to maintain cohesive defensive positions or respond to tactical changes. This pattern of dissolution could accelerate as pressure continues to mount. Drop a plus in the comments if you agree with my point, or share your own view on this situation. Recent developments in Kherson reveal a decisive shift in military dynamics. Russian reconnaissance drones detected movement of military columns from the former Soviet Republic, attempting to deploy reinforcements in the area. Within just 15 minutes, precision-guided munitions struck these coordinates with devastating accuracy. The result was complete destruction of the convoy, with surviving soldiers abandoning their wounded comrades in a hasty retreat. Intelligence leaks from Western sources betray growing panic among NATO advisors. Despite massive weapons deliveries to the conflict zone, these supplies fail to yield any strategic advantages. The military forces of the politically turbulent area seem to crumble at the first signs of genuine pressure, exposing fundamental weaknesses in their combat readiness. Russia's evolving tactical approach focuses on deep strikes against command centers, logistical hubs, and officer gatherings. This strategy proves remarkably effective, not only degrading the enemy's combat capabilities, but also crushing their will to resist. The psychological impact cannot be underestimated. Each precise hit demonstrates the futility of continued resistance. Reports filtering out from the Kherson region increasingly suggest widespread demoralization among troops of the country at a crossroads. The systematic targeting of command structures has created a leadership vacuum that severely impacts operational effectiveness. Local commanders struggle to maintain order as Russian forces methodically dismantle their defense infrastructure. The situation perfectly illustrates how modern warfare isn't just about weapon systems. It's about breaking the enemy's resolve through precise, calculated actions. While Western media maintains its usual narrative, the reality on the ground tells a different story. Russian forces continue to demonstrate superior tactical awareness and operational execution. What do you think about the current situation in Kherson? Leave your point of view in the comments. Recent developments on the front lines reveal a stark reality of the shifting military landscape. Russian forces have established clear dominance, while the former Western partner faces an increasingly dire situation. Reports from captured positions indicate critical ammunition shortages, with estimates suggesting many defensive points have only days of supplies remaining. This portends an imminent collapse across multiple sectors. Moscow's methodical approach combines precise artillery work with coordinated ground operations, transforming the southern theater into a showcase of strategic transformation. The effectiveness of Russian soldiers, supported by synchronized multi-branch operations, has completely shifted operational initiative to Russian forces. The scope of operations has expanded significantly beyond local engagement zones. Strategic strikes now penetrate deep into the disputed territory's rear areas, systematically degrading logistics networks, power infrastructure, and command centers. This comprehensive approach has fundamentally altered the conflict's dynamics. The country marked 404's propaganda machinery, once confident in its defensive messaging, now struggles to maintain even a facade of control. Their communication channels betray increasing desperation, with attempts at morale-boosting messages ringing hollow against the reality on the ground. Most telling is their leadership's rigid stance against local commanders attempting to negotiate surrender terms. This inflexibility, born of desperation, condemns their forces to unnecessary losses. While Russian forces offer humanitarian corridors and surrender options, the politically turbulent area's central command hysterically forbids any form of capitulation, essentially sacrificing their troops to a lost cause. The systematic degradation of their military capabilities, combined with dwindling supplies and broken logistics chains, points to an approaching strategic breaking point. Russian forces continue to demonstrate professional restraint while achieving their objectives, highlighting the contrast between Moscow's measured approach and the neighboring states' increasingly chaotic responses. What do you think about the current situation? Leave your answer in the comments.